What's up, guys? It is College SportsCast with Game Day Pick'ems. We are at week 26, season 3. We got 1 week left before March. So we are getting close to March Madness. Welcome in, guys. That was some new little music at the beginning of that. Kind of confused me for a minute. I hadn't heard that. I kept waiting for Michael Bolton to start singing.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on here?
I had not heard that before. Like I said, I was kind of waiting for Michael Bolton to start singing or something. I wasn't sure what was going on there for a minute. Hadn't heard that before. All right, guys. This is College SportsCast. This is our Game Day Pick'em. We do this on Friday nights and pick a bunch of games throughout the week for the weekend. If you're on Facebook, we appreciate you. You can help support us by sending stars, or we would love if you guys would subscribe to the page. It's only 99 cents a month, and it does give you your own chat just for subscribers and your own subscribers page. So we would appreciate that. It does help us to continue to make more content for you guys. So we would appreciate that. What's up, Jerry? Jerry Carter's on here with us. We appreciate you, Jerry. We have got a big week coming up. I think this is a pretty big weekend. I mean, you're getting down to the nitty-gritty. In college basketball. I mean, there's only 4 or 5 games left in the men's side and 3 or 4 games in the women's side of things remaining.
Yeah, it's getting close to the end. Yeah.
So, all these games count. And there are teams that are trying to find some quad 1 wins and trying to find some, to get in the tournament. So,
I think too, Brad, some are battling for seeding. When you get into the conference tournaments, we've heard from the committee that some of the games don't really, I mean, I wouldn't say they don't matter, but the seeding towards the end is what matters. Because I
agree. I don't agree that that's the way it should happen, but the last 2 or 3 years, especially on the men's side of things, I do feel like
especially on Sunday, they just kind of sometimes they revise the bracket if you get a team like a team that steals a bid or something. But
the Sunday games don't really matter, to be honest. And I'm not sure that I agree with that. And I'll be honest with you, last year, I don't think some of the Saturday games mattered when it comes to the conference tournament as far as seeding.
Right now, you're pretty much playing for seeding, to be honest, with your schedule. And the bubble teams are trying to work their way in, and we're getting ready to talk about a bubble team right out of the women's gate, Iowa State.
Yep. So we're going to start with the women. There is several big women's games going on this weekend. I did save the LSU Kentucky game to last for the women's side of things. It is a later game on Sunday, so we're going to save that one to last. We're going to start with the women's, and this one is tomorrow. This game is Saturday, and Iowa State is at Baylor. Iowa State, John, has one of the better players in the country.
Audie Crooks, yeah.
Audie Crooks has one of the better players in the country. She's a sophomore and right there with Juju in scoring and everything. She's a big girl. She gets lots of rebounds too. Here's the thing. They started out the season, they had high expectations, but they started out kind of slow. But they have won 4 in a row leading up to this game. I think
really what's hurting Iowa State right now, Brad, is they're 0-6 against teams ranked in the top 25. That lack of a marquee win has kind of left Iowa State sitting on the edge of the tournament.
Clearly on the bubble, for sure.
Now, a victory at Butler, probably one of the top teams in the league.
Baylor.
And respectful programming, but do what now? Oh, Butler. I meant Baylor.
Said Butler. Baylor.
My bad. Baylor. Yeah. I just think it would be what they need to get off the bubble a little bit. But it's going to be tough. Baylor's a really good team. They like to press. They're third in the Big 12 in turnover margin.
Guard heavy. This Baylor team is guard heavy. Jada Walker.
Yeah, tough. Now they're going to have their hands full defensively. They have some really good scoring options. Buggs is really, really good. Vonley's really, really good. They got Sarah Andrews, who I think averages like 11 points per game. This is going to be a tough game. Now they've won 4 in a row. Their improved 3-point shooting has been a big key.
They're 19-9. Well, like you said, they're 0-6 in top 25 games.
Beating Baylor on the road is going to be tough, and I think this is going to be one of their toughest games that they've had all year. I'm going to take Baylor here, Brad. It's going to be tough for Iowa State. Now, Audie Crooks is going to get hers. She always does. But I just think the level of guards that Baylor has and the way they like to play things defensively, I think they take care of business at home.
Did you see Jada Walker's buzzer beater? I think it was like halftime or something the last game out. Half-court heave that went in for Jada Walker for the Baylor Bears, Lady Bears. So, the Baylor, believe it or not, and nobody's really talked about them this year all that much. Baylor is right there to possibly win the Big 12.
Yeah, they're out in the mix.
They're right there. And this is a big game for them at home against a quality opponent in Iowa State. Got a great big girl, and against a quality opponent here. Now, Iowa State really needs this to get off the bubble.
They do. They do. They need this.
But Baylor is in the running. I know in the Big 12, we've all heard about Kansas State this year. We've heard about TCU. Nobody's really talked about the Baylor team here this year, and they're like 23-5, and they're like 13-2 in conference, and right there to win the Big 12. So I'm going to take Baylor in this one at home as well. I think they're going to get this done, but look for Iowa State to give it everything they have to try to pull this one out. All right, the next one we're going to go to, these are Sunday games. This is a big one. Number 1, Notre Dame. They are number 1 for the first time since 2019 this week. Moved to the top spot. They are at NC State. NC State has been one of the hottest teams in the country the last month.
Yeah, Notre Dame's undefeated right now in conference play. They got a pretty tough schedule coming up right before the tournament starts.
I think NC State's number 2 in the conference.
This will be one of their toughest games. I'm kind of excited to see how they finish out. Notre Dame is kind of looked back and saw a lot of chaos the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of shakeup in the top 5, top 10, and they've not been a part of that yet.
Nope, they've won 18 in a row.
It's interesting to see how Notre Dame responds in this kind of game. NC State's playing really, really well right now. They're number 1 in the country. Notre Dame is. I'm super excited for this game. This will be a tough game in Raleigh. The doggo is really, really good for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has the best backcourt in the country. They can do a lot of good things.
They're pretty damn good. I have to give them that. Yes.
And I still got them as my pick to win the national championship. I still think there's other teams out there like South Carolina, Texas, but if I had to go guards, I would definitely go with Notre Dame. But overall, I think Notre Dame wins this game. I think they take care of business in Raleigh, and I think they get it done.
I mean, gosh, it would not surprise me since this game is in Raleigh. It would not surprise me if
it wouldn't surprise me
if they can find a way to win this game. I know Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles are going to play their asses off to win this game on the road. They've won 18 in a row. They just got to number 1 this week for the first time since 2019. But I'm going to tell you, John, this NC State team has been playing some exceptional basketball.
They have.
I think they're in second place. So this is number 1, number 2 as far as the ACC. And this is a much-needed game if they're going to challenge.
And they could meet each other again in the ACC tournament. I mean,
they could.
So this is an opportunity for NC State to pick up a very big quadrant win.
There's a part of me that wants to pick the upset here and take NC State in this game in Raleigh, but gosh, this Notre Dame team is just so good. And the guard play is so good. I'm going to take the Irish, but I think this is going to be an absolute battle to the end.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, West Virginia is at TCU. We just talked about Baylor being the top of the conference. TCU is who they're tied with. I think they're both 13-2, I believe. TCU is in the top 10. They're a 3 seed in bracketology right now. And this West Virginia team is quietly 21-5. You're muted.
I think if you can go on the road and win at TCU, it bodes well for your tournament chances. TCU's playing really, really well as well in the Big 12. This should be an interesting game, I think. So I think I'm going to take TCU in this game.
You got Prince, the big girl Prince, 6'8", 6'7", 6'9", something like that. I forgot what Sedona Prince is. She's way up there.
She is.
Leads the country in blocks, like 5.8 or something a game. It's something crazy. She's huge. And you got Haley Van Lith that's there, and they've turned this TCU program around. This is at home. I'm gonna take TCU in this one. Is that who you got?
Yeah, I think that's who I got. You.
All right. The next one we're going to go to, John. We did USC at Iowa a couple of weeks ago, and now UCLA is going to Iowa. This is a tough trip. USC got beat. It's one of their couple of losses this year. USC got beat at Iowa. This is a tough trip, a tough place to play. UCLA lost to USC last week. So they slipped down from that number 1 spot, and they've been number 1 for most of the season.
Well, yeah, and you got Addie O'Grady and Lauren Betts going at it. Big time matchup. Grady is about the same size as Betts. I think Betts is a little bit bigger than her. I think this will be the first time they share the court. I think they was teammates back in high school, which should be interesting to watch.
It's going to be a fun game.
My onlooker. Man,
Lucy Olson has been playing good for Iowa.
Yep. Corey Close is a really good coach. She's got some good pieces. They use a lot of motion sets with actions. They got different packages they can use for Lauren Betts. This is going to be a tough game for Iowa. I think Iowa's going to go out to a strong start just because of, where they're playing. They're playing at Carver Hawkeye Arena, one of the toughest environments to play in. But I think UCLA will just be too much.
They're going to pack that place.
They are. And I think they only got 2 games. Is it 2 games left at Carver? I think there's only 2 games left to play there. That's a tough environment to play in. But I also think UCLA does what they need to do to win this game. I think Lauren Betts is the difference in this game.
I mean, I want to agree with you here because I really like this UCLA team, and they're coming off of that USC loss.
But you've seen what they did to USC.
Got beat by Iowa. Yeah,
I mean,
at Iowa.
You saw them lose to, but you saw them beat USC. So, at the end of the day, can they make another top 3 win at home, and it'll be interesting to see how they
big opportunity for them. I can tell you that. This is you talking about seeding. If they could get this win too, it's going to be huge for their seeding.
It's going to help them. Yep.
Listen, I picked Iowa to beat USC at home. They were retiring Caitlin Clark's number that day. Caitlin Clark was there. The crowd was going to be crazy. The crowd's going to be crazy. The crowd's going to be crazy on Sunday. Hawkeye Arena's always got a juiced up crowd. Always.
Yeah, it's always one big party there.
Something tells me that Lauren Betts and UCLA is going to get it done on Sunday. That's where I'm going to go. All right, the next one, UNC at Louisville. John, Waltz has done what Waltz does. They started out kind of slow. Louisville's been playing really well lately.
They're playing really, really good. It's hard to not see what Waltz is doing. They knocked off Duke, their second consecutive win on the ranked win on the road. Louisville deserves their flowers, and I think a win here, and I think you got to put them in the top.
This UNC team has been really good this year, but this going to Louisville is going to be tough.
Jada Curry is playing really, really well for Louisville right now. This is a fun Louisville team. Jalea Williams is playing really, really good. They beat a good Duke team the other night. Now Louisville started 6-5 on the year. They've gone 13-2 since. They beat some.
Yes.
They've had 4 ranked wins. They beat top ranked Notre Dame. No. They play North Carolina and Notre Dame coming up on their schedule.
Right.
If they can impose their will, like they did against Duke, I think they got a shot in this game.
I mean, they beat Georgia Tech. They beat Florida State.
And the Yum Center is a tough environment. I think I might go Louisville here, Brad. That's a tough environment to play. North Carolina is going into a really hostile environment. I like Louisville here.
UNC is one of the teams that has beaten Kentucky this year, and Kentucky beat Louisville, but it was at Memorial. It wasn't at the Yum Center. And Louisville has been playing really well lately. UNC beat NC State the other week, last weekend by 1. Good win for them. This UNC team North Carolina is really good. But something tells me to take Louisville in this game and take Jeff Walz.
Hold on just a minute, Brad.
All right. So that's what I'm going to do with this being at home. I think I'm going to take Louisville to win that one. All right. This next game is South Carolina at Vandy. And South Carolina is coming off of a struggle week, and we haven't seen a struggle week for South Carolina in a while. Now, they pounded Arkansas last night, but let's be honest, that Arkansas team is not very good, okay?
No,
and then
they're
Vandy, I'm going to give you some numbers, guys. In the last few games, Michaela Blakes, who is a freshman, has had 33, 53, 22 against Texas. All right? 22 against Texas. 55 and 34 this past week. She's a freshman. Now, I'm going to throw one other piece before I give this to you. She was named the freshman and SEC Player of the Week this week, and she is the first freshman in the SEC to win Player of the Week in women's basketball since a girl named Shamiqua Holtzclaw. No. I take that back. I got it wrong. It was Candace Parker at Tennessee in 2006. That's still a pretty big name, right? Candace Parker?
Yeah. I mean, if you watch college ball,
she's the first freshman who has won SEC Player of the Week since Candace Parker in 2006. That's pretty big. Now, the game at hand. Do you think South Carolina is going to take care of business at Vandy?
I think they will, but I think it's going to be a tough game. They go to Vandy, they go to Ole Miss, then they got a home game against Kentucky. Just win, I guess you could say, Brad. They're going through a little tough spell. They're 27-3, 13-3 in quad one. They'd probably have the most quad one wins in the country with these games. The last four games are a big test for South Carolina. Vanderbilt has a really great inside-out game like Kentucky does. They use the inside-out game pretty well. You got Camille Pierre.
Pierre's pretty good.
And Michaela Blakes. They're playing really, really well. They're probably going to get a number one seed when it's all said and done. But they're getting a really good test early on in this SEC slate to where they haven't been tested yet. And I think they'll be tested again here. Vanderbilt's a tough game. Vanderbilt's beat some really good teams this year.
They have.
They've been in the mix for a couple of games where they should have won. I'm going to roll with Dawn Staley. She kind of, these kind of games and trying to bounce back, I think she knows how to motivate her team. And I think South Carolina gets it done on the road against Vanderbilt.
I'm going with South Carolina and the Gamecocks here. I got a feeling that that loss against UConn is going to wake them up. They don't get beat like that, not ever. Like it just don't happen.
Especially at home.
At Colonial Life, I mean, it just don't happen, to be honest with you. And I got a feeling that they're going to be hungry. And they showed it last night. I don't know if you guys saw Malaysia Fawali's highlights last night, but she was amazing. Check out our highlights. Just her highlights was amazing last night. But I'm going to tell you guys, Michaela Blakes as a freshman is the real deal. And Camille Pierre and more. This Vandy team has some talent, and it would not surprise me if Michaela Blakes doesn't come out firing and ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's another game you got to watch. I mean, the
It wouldn't
last
surprise me at all. Now, this one, John, Illinois is at USC, and Illinois, surprisingly, kind of like Louisville, who kind of started out slow early in conference play. They had 4 losses early, but they're now 21-5. And
this is the first ever
Kentucky was one of those losses. They beat them early in the season.
Yep.
And was one of those 4 losses.
This is the first ever meeting, too, between these two teams.
Yeah.
Illinois
was ranked preseason. They hit those losses. They fell out. They are now back in. I think they're at 23rd in the poll.
Yeah. I think Juju's playing really, really well right now. This USC team is playing really, really well. They did have that little skift where they lost at Iowa. But overall, this has been a really good year for USC. I think they're in that mix with South Carolina, UCLA, and others that are going to be playing.
Pretty much Final Four or bust.
For a 1 seed, yeah. Illinois is going to have a tough time, especially on the road, I think. Great year that Illinois has had, and Illinois is probably going to be in the tournament. But on this day, I just think USC is just going to be too much with Juju.
Yeah, I mean, this Illinois team, like I said, they kind of struggled. I seen them play early this year. I was at it was a Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving tournament, and in Nashville, and I was there. I seen them play up front, up close, twice actually, because I seen them the day before when they didn't play Kentucky. They did win that game early in the season. So I have seen them play twice. They do have a couple of really good players, this Illinois team does. And they hit some bumps. They've been playing really well. But I'm going to be honest with you, John. I think USC is going to show them who's boss. I just think this USC team, Juju and Kiki Irfin is they're just too much, man. I mean, they had like 58 points combined, 28 rebounds or 27 rebounds or something the other night between 2 of them. Like, come on. I mean, that's ridiculous. So give me the Trojans. All right, John, I saved this one for last. This is the last one on the women's side here. I saved this one for last. LSU is coming to Lexington to a sellout. It's sold out, Memorial Coliseum on Sunday, and I'm going to be there. And on top of that, it's Senior Day, and Georgia Amore and Deja Lawrence are going to be honored for Senior Day.
LSU's a really, really fun team to watch. Flau'jae Johnson, Anissa Morrow. This is a fun team. And Kentucky had this opportunity, a week ago with Texas, and they failed the test. I think you got to win at least one of these big games. LSU coming up, Tennessee and South Carolina. I think you got to at least win 2 of those, or at least one of them, at least. Clara Strack had a really big game last night, 22 points, had 12 rebounds. They had to really fight to beat a good Missouri team that don't show a resemblance of what their record is. Missouri has played tight with teams all year. I think Strack and Moore need to play big in this game, and I think Deja Lawrence is a big key in this game as well. I think they gotta. You're not going to neutralize Flau'jae Johnson and Williams and those girls. You're just going to have to do enough to win. And I think you're going to be
able to give you a little tidbit, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Anissa Morrow set out last night. It's the first time she missed a game in her entire career. Now,
Yep.
It was an injury, and I don't know what the extent of it is. My guess is she'll be playing Sunday. It was probably just something precautionary. I don't know. But that tomorrow afternoon, we will see the availability reports, and we'll see if Anisha Morrow is on there or not. But that would be a huge difference in this game if she wouldn't.
It would. She plays big. She's really, really good. Kim Mulkey is a really, really good coach. I expect them to play their tails off. I expect Kentucky to come out with a little bit more energy and fire this game. It just didn't feel like that when they played Texas. It just felt like Texas, played to their strengths and their defense kind of got ahead of them. And I just felt like Kentucky just wielded late in the second half. They just couldn't never get nothing going. And I think they don't need that kind of effort again this time. I think they need to come out and have some energy, get the fans involved, get a lead at least, maybe get a lead and maybe, stay in the game and not make the mistakes that they made against Texas because they turned the ball over quite a bit. I think Lawrence had a turnover once in the second, and I think Georgia Amore had a couple.
Well, now LSU kind of plays at that kind of rate, fast pace, and they have some turnovers too. So you're likely to see some turnovers in this game. I'll tell you what one of the biggest things is going to be. Kentucky has to rebound defensively. They cannot let LSU have 20 to 25 offensive rebounds.
If you do, you're probably going to get beat double digits.
That's what happened against Ole Miss. That's what happened against Texas. And I'm going to be honest with you, that was part of the struggle last night. Missouri had 19 offensive rebounds.
Yep. They played hard. Missouri was right in the game up until late in the fourth.
Is one of the best rebounding teams in the country.
Yes, they're good.
Anisha Morrow, Michaela Williams, and Flage, for that matter, and several others, they are one of the best rebounding teams in the entire country. And tomorrow night, more than anything, Kentucky, or not tomorrow night, Sunday afternoon, more than anything, yes, they got to come out with energy. Yes, they need to hit some shots. Yes, they need to get Hassett and Lawrence going early. Yes, yes, and yes. But I'm going to tell you what right now, more than anything, they have to hold their own on the backboard. And not just hold their own. They have to keep them off the offensive. They cannot pound the offensive boards.
And my prediction for this game, as much as I hate to go against the Cats, I think I'm going to go LSU here. I just think right now they're the better team. Kentucky, I still think Kentucky's not in the top four yet. Now, Kenny Brooks is doing a really good job recruiting. I think he's going to do a really good job in Lexington. I think it's just going to take some time. But I think eventually Kentucky will be in that mix. But this year there's just too many top-heavy teams above them. And I just think the LSU is just a better team than them overall. But that don't mean on any given night that they can't win a game.
Listen, if Georgia Amore pulls a 30 or 40-point night on Sunday, Kentucky could win this game. Yeah. I'm not going to say that they can't. If Tiani Key pulls 20 and Strack pulls 20, Kentucky could win this game.
Well, and LSU's defense isn't – I wouldn't say it's the greatest.
They don't they're fast-paced. This should be a high-scoring – this should be like a 86 to, 78 game or something. I mean, this should be a high-scoring girls game, to be quite honest with you. It'll be fast-paced. It'll be fun. All the media is going to be there. This is top-notch game. It's going to be fun to be there. I can't wait to be there for it. It's going to be a blast, to be quite honest with you. Listen, I'm going there to cover Kentucky. I'm credentialed with Kentucky media, the women's media here. I'm not going against the team here at home on senior day. I know it's LSU. I know they likely could win this game because of who it is. But, man, with a sellout crowd, senior day, Georgia A-Moore, they got to bring their A game Sunday.
They do.
And I'll leave it at that. All right, we're going to get to the men. We got 9 games to go through here, and on the men's, 8 of them, I think I do have some spreads. Tennessee is at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 1.5-point favorite. John, who you like in this one? This is a number 6 versus number 7 AP poll.
Tennessee, to me, is up and down at times. Kaz Lanier has not been what I thought he would be going into SEC play. Now he still leads Tennessee in scoring, I think, 17 points per game. Last weekend they was down, I think, 16 to Vanderbilt and had a dominant second half. I'll be honest with you, Brad. Aggies did not play well at Mississippi State. Now
they didn't, but that's part of the reason why I think they will. They'll bounce back at home.
We're a different team away home when it suggests those numbers. I like Buzz Williams here. I like A&M. I like home. They play really, really well at home. This could be one of those knockdown, drag out kind of games because both teams feast on the defensive end. And I wouldn't be shocked if this is a rock fight. But I'm going to go A&M here. I think they cover this spread. But we've seen it. Tennessee is, they're up and down. Which Tennessee you're going to get from Saturday to weekday, you never know what you're going to get. Just depends on if Lanier's hitting his shots, if Ziegler is doing his thing.
The thing about Lanier is this, and I don't think a lot of people consider this, but Lanier played at a very small school. And he, through the non-conference, was playing at a much higher level. But during SEC play at a much different competition level, he's kind of struggled a little bit.
Yeah, he's had some struggle games, yeah.
And I think it goes to just upping the level of competition that he is playing. So, that's not a knock on the kid at all. I mean, he challenged himself. He's averaging 17 points a game. That's not a knock on the kid at all. I'm just stating a fact that the competition level has changed. And you're right, Buzz Williams and A&M kind of got punked at Mississippi State the other day. Got beat 16, only scored 54 points. I'm going to take the Aggies to rebound at home in this one. All right, John, this is a big one. This is Saturday. This is tomorrow. This is a big one in the Big 12. Iowa State, who actually has slipped up a little bit lately, is at Houston. The spread here is a little surprising to me. 12.5 seems high.
Yeah, it's a little high, but I think also you got to look at it. Houston's playing really, really well. They've only dropped one conference home game, and I think that was in overtime. Now they've won 5 consecutive games. They're playing for a 1 seed. To me, they're a national title contender. Kelvin Sampson, all he does is win, Brad. You've told me this. He just wins. Plays with a really great, tenacious defense. Now the offense at times, they get kind of have some lulls, but when it comes to D, there's nobody better than Houston. And they win.
Iowa
They win by
State's
big
actually a
margins.
pretty good defensive team too.
They are, but they don't play good on the road. That's where they're 2-3 in their past 5 games.
Marsha raises her hand.
5 of the 6 conference home wins for Houston have been by double digits. That's impressive. But I'm like you. This line's really high. I think I'm going to take Iowa State to cover. I think they play really, really well in this game. I think this will be a nip and tuck game all the way, but I do think Houston wins.
I think Houston wins, but I think it's like 6 or 8.
Yeah, I do. I think Iowa State covers.
So I'm going to take Iowa State to cover this 12.5. I mean, if you're going to give me 12 points, as far as a betting person, I'm going to take Iowa State here. I mean, I just think this Iowa State, they play really good defense. Houston plays really good defense. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I don't think you're going to see a team.
Probably going to be in the 60s.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to see a team outscore somebody 74-60. I mean, I just don't see it. I think it's going to be – this game might even be a 58-51 game. I mean –
yeah, it's
with the defense that they play.
There's going to be times where offense gets lagged up, and that's where Houston relies on their defense a lot.
So I just like 12.5 points seems like a huge spread against 2 great defensive teams.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That's where I go with that one. All right, Oregon is at Wisconsin, and John, Wisconsin has been playing some ball, like they've been playing really well. 8.5 point favorite at home.
Wisconsin, man, they get one of the top overall seed, like one of the 3 seeds in the bracket reveal. They went into Purdue and took care of business Saturday. I don't think there's anybody right now in the country playing better than Wisconsin right now.
I think they're 21-5 or something like that. They're right in the thick of things.
Not named Duke.
Yeah.
Because Duke's playing at a high level right now in Auburn. This Wisconsin team has a really good chance to be a top seed when it's all said and done.
They do. And they come out of nowhere.
And Greg Gard does really good with their defense. They got a fun team. Ponjay is really, really good for Wisconsin. He lit Purdue up Saturday afternoon. And it's hard to win in Mackinac. That's a tough place to play. And they went in and they just dominated Purdue by 10 points.
They did.
And then on the other side, you got an Oregon team that's, Brad, we've talked about it all year. They're up and down. They've won as many quad one games as Kentucky, Auburn, and many others in front of them. But there's just games where they just seems like that they just fall apart in. They don't look great. And going on the road is going to be tough for them, I think, especially at Wisconsin, where Wisconsin plays really, really well. I think give me the Badgers, and I think the Badgers cover this. Oregon's 2.
I'll be honest with you, John. This Oregon team was impressive early, but they're 19-8 now. They were like 13-0 or something. I mean, they're just played well.
They're too streaky, to be honest. They've been that way since they got into the Big Ten play.
Yeah.
I don't like them on the road here.
And
I think Wisconsin.
I will fully admit, for me, I feel like this Wisconsin team come out of like nowhere. I don't like early in the season. I don't remember anybody talking about them. And you're right. Like they might get a top 4 seed here. Like that's how well they're playing.
They could get it too if some teams drop.
They could absolutely. I think I'm going to take the Badgers here at home.
Yeah, I like the Badgers at home.
All right, John, this is a weird ACC matchup. This might be Clemson's first time ever in Dallas at SMU. I didn't look it up.
Here's the issue, though. SMU has a really good conference record.
They do. They're 20-6.
But they've beaten up on the bottom of the league. They've not played well against the top. They lost to Duke by 27. They also lost to North Carolina, Louisville, and I think Wake. I think their best win is Notre Dame. I think Clemson's playing at a high level right now.
Well, Clemson is one of the few road teams who's favored here.
Well, and Clemson's got a really good offense. SMU lacks a big-time scorer. I don't think nobody on the team averages more than 13 points per game. And that's going to be a problem against the Clemson team that has Chase Hunter. I think he's really, really good for Clemson, and they're really physical in the paint.
Has Chase been playing for like 7 years?
It seems like it, don't it? And they're, like I said, they're physical in the paint. Clemson likes to get physical, and I think this will help their resume as they go. But if you're an SMU fan, you gotta look at it as a bubble kind of resume for them, because a win here and you kind of get yourself on the cut line to possibly get into the tournament.
So SMU, I mean, John, they've had a pretty good season, to be quite honest with you. If you look at what they've done in football and basketball coming into the ACC,
they're doing good.
I think as an athletic department, they have to be thrilled with what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Clemson wins this. I think they cover the 1.5. Clemson's playing really good. I'm
going to pick Clemson, but however, this probably is their first ever trip out there. You don't know how a team's going to respond. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't surprise me if the rims are tight or the floor has an issue or they're not used to it. It wouldn't surprise me if something, happened. But I do think Clemson's the better team.
Well, so and you got to think, Dad, I talked with a bracketologist today, SMU's fourth in the ACC, okay? Most seasons that would be great, but not this year. The ACC is not that strong. There's not a lot of great teams in the ACC.
I'm just saying, for the school and athletic department, I think they got to be thrilled with the way things have went in the ACC.
I think you got to win this game to at least get in the tournament.
Maybe. All right, St. Mary's is at Gonzaga. Gonzaga is a 6.5-point favorite at home. Gonzaga has not quite had the season that everybody thought they would. But, of course, they're still going to make the tournament, I would think, John.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, yeah, they are. St. Mary's won the first meeting. Now you're going to Gonzaga now. I think Gonzaga needs
a tough place to play in St. Mary's.
Gonzaga, I think they're down 2 games in the WCC, and they need one of these. They need one of these wins to keep the regular season title on the line. Gonzaga's got a really fun offense. They average, I think, 87 points. I think. I like Gonzaga here. I think their shot making level is really, really good, and I think this will be the difference in this game. And I think this is a revenge spot for them. Now, St. Mary's is really, really good. St. Mary's is going to be in the NCAA tournament. They're probably looking at, a 7-6 seed at the worst, maybe an 8 seed. Gonzaga needs this for seeding, I think, because right now Gonzaga is looking like that 8-9 game, and you kind of want to stay out of that 8-9 game because you're going up against the 1 seeds. And I think for Gonzaga, this game kind of means a little bit more. So give me Gonzaga to cover this game. I think Gonzaga wins this game.
I'm going to take Gonzaga at home too here, but now I'm going to tell you for sure St. Mary's is going to keep this game close. I would almost guarantee it. I'm tempted to take St. Mary's in the 6.5.
Coach Bennett,
to be quite honest with you,
what Coach Bennett has done with that program is absolutely impressive. They're just so consistent.
I'm tempted to take the 6.5 points, to be honest. Like, they always play Gonzaga tough.
Always have. Yep. There's one team that's a thorn in the flesh. It's St. Mary's to Gonzaga.
It is. It is. You can't underestimate Gonzaga. Absolutely. I mean, I agree with that. Few has always got a good team. I mean,
I do think.
But if you look up that history of St. Mary's and Gonzaga, it's always a tough, tight game. Always.
I think for tournament purposes, I think Gonzaga needs this more for seeding. I think this is going to help them a little bit more if they can pull out the win.
I think I'm going to take Gonzaga and take these points, but I'm telling you, my brain is telling me to do the opposite.
Yep.
All right, John, we're going to get to it. Kentucky at Alabama. It come out earlier. Availability reports come out. Both Butler and Robinson are listed as out for tomorrow. After that, the spread went up to 9.5. Early today, it was 7.5.
That's high, Brad. I know Alabama is coming off 2 losses, and they're probably going to be motivated to win this game. But I just think this is too high. You know, Kentucky's been up and down. You know, they've won certain games that they've lost certain games they should win, and they beat the top teams, okay? They beat Tennessee, beat Mississippi State, but then they go on the road and lose to Georgia, lost on the road to Vanderbilt and Clemson.
Lost at home to Arkansas.
And like I said, Alabama's dropped 2 straight, but they are 10-2 at home. But here's the thing: Alabama doesn't play great at home. They're 10-2, but they have to really fight to win games at home. Now Alabama won at Rupp early. I think they'll be amped up in this game. I think we take Alabama at home. I think they find a way to prevail, but I do think Kentucky's going to play hard tomorrow without Butler and Robinson. I do. Now, do I think they'll go in there and win? No, I don't think they will, but I think they're gritty. They play hard. They're not going to quit. I think this will be a tighter game than people think.
I'm going to be honest with you, John.
But I will say this.
Okay.
I will say this. I'm going to take Kentucky to cover the 9.5, 8.5. I think that's just too high of a spread.
Listen, here's my thing, okay? And I'm going to mention this because since the Ole Miss game, when we got beat by Ole Miss and was down like 27 points at halftime or whatever the crap it was, and we got just killed. Come back a little bit in the second half, but got beat 14 or 16 or something. And our defense at the end of that game was defensive efficiency was 112th in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Since that game, we're up to 68th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, even more so since that game, if you take the games that have been played since that game to today, Kentucky is 14th in the country in defensive efficiency over that span. I'm telling you,
something's clicking.
I'm telling you guys this for one reason. This Alabama game cannot be 102-97 and Kentucky win this on the road without Butler and without Robinson.
You're going to have to slow the game down.
We are not going to be able to play with this Alabama team who will score 110 points at home if we get in that kind of style play game with them. If we play down low like we did in the second half and slow this game down and play some defense,
got a shot.
We have a shot to maybe win this game on the road. Mark it down. I'm telling y'all right now, they cannot get into a shoot 'em out with Alabama.
Well, and I say this too. I do agree what Marcia said. They're too fast. I get that. But Kentucky did hang with them, even with Travis Perry playing against Alabama. They run up and down the floor. They did some good things. I think that's – I don't know. Maybe I'm out of my league here, but which we did have Butler and Jackson then. That makes a difference. But I think Kentucky does have the talent to shoot and run with them with guys like Kobe Brea.
I don't. Not with Butler and Robinson out.
Well,
if we had our full complement, I think we can.
But I want to say this before. I want to kind of say this before we move on. Amari Williams is playing at elite level right now. I just wanted to shout him out.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we need to play through him. I think we need to go down low, feed the ball. We need to play through him, get their bigs in foul trouble, and play through him. And we've got to play this game in an entirely different way than we played the first one.
And I'll say this, we got some good updates this morning. Got some good updates this morning on Butler and Robinson. Butler's going to get into live action here soon. Possibly, tomorrow? They're going to try him tomorrow, today, I think. And then Jackson's going to get ramped up into activities probably this week. If I'm guessing, Brad, Butler's probably going to come back for Auburn, if I had to guess. Or he's going to at least try. And Jackson, probably LSU. If I had a timetable on it, that's probably where you're going to get those guys back. And that's going to be a good thing. Maybe have them healthy going into the SEC.
I'm going to be honest with you, John. I'm going to take Kentucky in the points. If you're going to give me 9.5 points, I'm going to take Kentucky in the points.
Yeah, that's what I said.
In this game. Now, they're going to have to play the way I said they played to even cover this, much less win it. If we try to run with them, if we try to play speed and try to run with them, I'm going to tell you guys, this is going to be another Ole Miss. Like, I'm not saying we're going to be down 27 at halftime, but I am saying it's going to be a 15-point game.
Well, and if Alabama's hitting, you can mark it up. Kentucky they'll get beat 20+.
It's going to be a 12, 15-point game if we try to run with them, with Travis Perry being our point guard. I agree with you, Marcia.
I agree with you, Marcia. I think one of them will be back for Auburn, and that most likely will be Butler. It won't be Robinson, but I think he'll be back for Auburn.
All right.
At the worst.
We're going to move on. This is an absolute weird-ass game to me. I told you this before. I did a double take. I had to look this up. Like, I saw it on the list, and I said, what? That can't be right. Like, I don't even understand. It's late February. What in the hell is a ACC team playing a Big Ten team in Madison Square Gardens?
I've
We
seen
act
this
like
before.
this is November or some shit.
This used to happen late in the early 90s with Kentucky. They used to play games with Syracuse and Villanova. Rick Pitino used to schedule them late. There used to be games like this, Brad.
This blew my mind. I'm like, okay, where is this game? Because I got it listed as at. It's not. This is in Madison Square Gardens, a neutral site game like it's November 19th.
I will say, back in the 90s,
I don't get it.
There used to be games like this almost every night or every year. The schedules have changed, but there used to be games like this.
It blew my mind. I literally had to look this up. I thought it was a misprint or some shit. I'm like, I'm gonna
say this. Duke's playing at a high level right now, Brad. Cooper Flagg is playing really, really well. Duke don't play a lot of teams with the talent that Illinois has in the ACC. Right now Illinois is not playing great. They're not healthy. There's been sickness on the team. Brad Underwood said. Now Duke, I think, lost one of their best defenders in Malik Brown. If I had to pick this game straight up, I probably would pick Duke. But the 10.5 points, 9.5, 10.5 is pretty high for me, especially in a neutral site game.
I'm going to take Duke.
I think Duke's
Illinois has been sick. They haven't been playing well. They don't look good. I'm taking Duke, and I'm going to take.
Well, I think they're the popular pick here, so I think I'm going to take Duke. But I think I'm going to take Illinois to cover the 9.5. I think that's a little high for a neutral site game.
I just don't understand this game. It's late February. We're fixing to be at conference tournaments.
But, Brad, they used to do this in the 90s.
I don't ever remember games this. I remember at the 1st of February being a few times being an out-of-conference game. I do not ever remember seeing, and I've been watching college ball since 1980, 79 or 80. I never remember seeing an out-of-conference game being February the 22nd. I just don't ever recall it happening in the history of college.
I'll look it up and get off here, and we'll see.
All right. BYU is at Arizona. Arizona is a 7.5 point favorite at home. BYU is coming off their best win of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Beating Kansas the way they did.
I like Arizona here. Now, BYU is great at home, but sometimes they struggle on the road. Now, they did last year with Pope. They had some really good wins on the road, Kansas. But this year they've been hit or miss a lot of times. In Arizona with Caleb Love and that group of perimeter players, they're really great at home. They rarely ever lose at the McHale Center. I think I'm going to take the Arizona Wildcats to cover the spread. How does BYU kind of get up for a game like this after winning a game like they did against Kansas? Like, where's their head at? I think, and there's a lot of momentum with BYU right now, Brad. AJ DeBonce, the number one player,
the Richie kid that almost transferred here, like hit a bunch of threes the other night. Like, had a really
Richie
good
Saunders.
Game.
Yeah, he's really, really good. He can shoot. This is a fun BYU team, and it'd be interesting to see how they do on the road. But I think I'm going to take Arizona here, just for the safe bet.
Yeah, at home, I think I'm going to take Arizona as well. But I'm going to tell you, BYU 18-8, best win of the year. They ought to be coming in kind of loose.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
I mean, really. So, but I do think I'm going to take Arizona at home.
Yep.
All right, John, this is the last one. This one is on Sunday, and Rick Pitino got the best of him in stores. This one's on Sunday. I don't have a spread on this one. What do you think about this game?
Pitino, before playing UConn,
the Big East, right? Isn't he still leading?
Yeah. Before meeting UConn, he was 0-4, okay? I think UConn's playing a little bit better. They're 18-8. It's at noon on Fox. Should be an outstanding game. They're coming off a good win against Villanova. They was down, I think, 14 points in the second half. Come back and won that game. Red Storm are playing great. Rick Pitino, I think, deserves Coach of the Year. They got a 4-game winning streak. They got a 3-game winning streak. R.J. Lewis.
If he
really,
wins
really
this
good.
game, he's definitely a contender for Coach of the Year.
Kadari Richmond is playing good. This is a very big high-stake game between two really good, talented teams, which are both trying to boost their tournament resume. Going into the conference tournament, where they could probably meet again in the Big East, because we've known to see these games where they play again in these tournaments. Pitino kind of brought up a good point. It was a funny quote. He said, "If I lose to Danny Hurley, if I lose to whoever, I want to die." I thought that was a pretty funny quote that Rick Pitino said.
Hey,
he loves to win. He loves to win, man.
He hates losing. I think he hates losing.
He wins everywhere he goes. Louisville, Kentucky. He just knows how to win. The
funniest quote was his response to that press conference the other day. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I remember what he was talking about. Yeah.
How did we lose that one game?
Yeah, how we lose that one. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh, man, I laughed so hard. You have no idea.
I think I'm going to take St. John's again. They play good at home, which home now to them is Madison Square Garden.
It's Madison Square Gardens.
And that place gets lively when St. John's is in there. Like that's a fun environment. I think UConn's going to be a little bit in trouble come Sunday. I'm taking
Pitino, man. He's there to win, and I think he's going to have these boys ready, and I think they're going to take the old best damn coach in the game down. I think, according to Dan Hurley, 2-time defending champs. I get it, but I mean, let's have a little bit of humility.
By the way, Michigan State went into Michigan tonight and knocked off Michigan on the road. So that was a big win for the Spartans.
I agree with you.
And Villanova knocked off Marquette tonight. That was another.
And by the way, in case you guys didn't know, Duke and Illinois is having a secret game in February.
My final buzzer is this, Brad. I kind of wanted to bring this in before we got off here. I wanted to ask you.
One of those secret exhibition games.
I wanted to ask you this question. I guess I can do the women's and the men's for this, because we can do the women's first and then the men's. Going into the conference tournament and NCAA tournament, there's always a surprise team. There's always a disappointment team. And there's always that team that kind of, steals a bid. Which team on the women's side, this is for the women first, are you most concerned about going into conference play into the tournament that you don't know whether they'll make a run or not?
Are you talking about like top teams that could kind of falter?
Top 20, top 25.
So I'll start with Florida State, who looked like a world beater early. They have faltered down there. They got the leading scorer in women's college basketball, Latson, on their team, and they have not played good lately. And that's not good going into tournament time. So I'll start with them. Georgia Tech in the ACC is another team that started out really good, and lately they have been getting smacked by most teams. That's two ACC teams right there that are going the wrong way. Now, I'm trying to think of another team across the country. I mean, I'll give you one that I think the other day they really put on a show, and this is going to give me a lot of grief here. But I don't think UConn makes the Final Four on the women's side. I think they missed the Final Four this year. That's a huge deal for UConn. They make the Final Four. That's what they do. I mean, Paige Buchers has made it just about every year except for the year she got hurt. Probably every year. They make the Final Four. They even make the final game and have a chance to win. And we're winning up until Dawn Staley. I think they fall short of the Final Four this year.
All right. Well, I'll do the men's. And there's three teams that I'm kind of looking at here. And one of them sits in Lawrence, Kansas. The Kansas Jayhawks. I just can't comprehend how they've struggled this much. You know, they brought back Hunter Dickinson.
Especially with the talent they brought in.
KJ Adams, you know, they had one of the best transfer classes in the country. They entered the year as one of the top teams in the country.
They were preseason number one.
Now they're, 23rd? Just a roller coaster ride of a year. If this team cannot end the season as at least one of the top 8, I think you got to consider this a failed season. You know, when Bill Self said it the other night, he said, we need to get away from each other. Like we need to.
He was at least honest about it, but I thought it was funny as hell.
I thought it was funny, but he's right. Like there's problems all over this team.
Get away from
and I never would have thought that with the talent that they got on this team, and it's just not been what I thought it would be.
My second team, to give everybody hammers.
And my second team, I know I'm gonna get grief over this one, but is Memphis. They're just so unpredictable, Brad. You know, they jump up in the rankings.
Welcome to the Penny Hardaway era.
They get some impressive non-conference wins, and then they just disappear once conference play comes.
Welcome to the Penny Hardaway era.
You know, they have some scoring. They knocked off UConn. I think they beat Michigan State, beat Ole Miss, beat Clemson. They got one of the best resumes in the country. But they're really bad for playing down to their opponents.
And they're in the AAC. They're not in the SEC or the Big Ten.
Which concerns me going into conference tournament in March. They're just too inconsistent. My final team, and you probably know where I'm going with this, my final team's Marquette.
I'll give you one for sure.
Marquette's my last one.
No, that's not who I was
thinking. They're just, I don't know what happened between November and December. They just don't even look like the same team anymore. They got beat by double digits tonight to Villanova. They're 20-7 on the year. They're probably looking at a 4 or 5 seed at the worst. I think this has not been a really good Shaka Smart team this year. I thought he had a better team last year.
Again, welcome to the Shaka Smart era. I mean, I thought he was what was it? Texas he went to?
It's Texas, you know.
Yeah. I thought he did the same thing there. He's come back to Marquette. He's doing the same thing there. I mean, a zebra don't change his stripes.
That's right. Now, I'll let you go on, give your 3, and we'll be done for the night.
I was going to say UNC.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, on the men's side of things, man, listen. If you go around the country and you look at the blue bloods, and
Kentucky's
probably blue bloods, I'm talking about all the big time programs that for 70 years kind of ruled college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You go around the country and you look at the Indianas and the North Carolinas and the Kentuckys the last several years, the Kansas and what they've done the last 2 years, North Carolina's, UConn this year and the struggle that they've had. Indiana, I said them, I think. Indiana, I mean, you go around the country. Michigan State has had some trouble up to this year, and I'm really proud of Izzo for what he's done this year. But you go around the country and look at the blue bloods of college basketball.
Playing field's changed.
There's an issue, man. I'm telling you, it's been 70-75. UCLA, I didn't throw them in there. I got to throw in UCLA. You go around the country and look, and those are the programs. If you want me to sit here, the Kansas, I said them, I think. You want me to go around and tell you who's disappointing? The blue bloods of college basketball have mostly been disappointing. UConn, the last 2 years wasn't. Duke is still on the cusp and got a chance this year.
Yep.
But you go around the country and the blue bloods are on the struggle bus most of the time.
They are. Well, and like North Carolina, you know, the ACC is not great. You know, if you lose, it's going to hurt you.
Let me be honest with you, man. Hubert Davis should be dominating this ACC outside of 2 or 3 teams.
Yeah, I'm. You know, they beat NC State the other night. Now, to be fair, NC State's what, 10-16, something like
9-16 or some crappy like.
So win there, you expect to win that game. You know, you got Virginia coming up Saturday. Just if you're North Carolina, you got to keep winning. Now, if you do that over your next 4 games, your Super Bowl is March 8th, right? Dude, in your backyard. You all of a sudden win those games and you beat Duke, the tale might change. But I agree with you.
What is going on in Chapel Hill?
It's not great, Brad.
I'm serious. Listen, I don't like you, okay? Not at all. So much so that I never once liked a guy by the name of Michael Jordan. Just so you know. There's only been one dude that I ever liked from North Carolina. And that's because he was a Laker. I'll let you figure that out.
I think I know who you're talking about.
James Worthy.
Yeah, James Worthy.
Sam Perkins. I'll say 1.5 because Perkins played a little bit for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Outside of that, and listen, I don't like you, but let's be honest, man. What is going on? Like, where are the Antoine Jaminsons and I just said, the James Worthys, the Sam Perkins, hell, even Hansborough. And
here's my take on that.
The stupid Luke Mays. And
the playing level has changed. I've said it.
Where are these guys? I don't.
When you add
the Jerry Stackhouse, where in the hell are these guys?
Well, to be fair, the NIL has changed and the transfer portal, and everybody's getting better, and everybody's got an even playing field now.
Yeah, but
and
you should be able to lock up one or two. You're North Carolina.
I agree. I just think Hubert was not a great choice. I just felt like they needed to go a different direction. But I'll be honest with you.
I'm aware of RJ Davis. I'm not going to sit here, and if anybody comes on here, I'm aware that RJ Davis is a really good player. I'm aware, okay? But I'm going to be honest with you.
He's not been RJ Davis of last couple of years.
What has RJ Davis brought to y'all since a surprising questionable run, 3 years ago?
Here's another key fact. If
a whole lot of losses is what I'm going to tell you. And I don't recall Jerry Stackhouse or Michael Jordan or Antoine Jamison or Hansborough. I don't recall a whole lot of losses.
And here's another thing that needs to be said. If they miss the tournament again this year, that's going to be twice in the last 3 years?
With higher expectations. Like, I don't know where the alumni for Chapel Hill is, but they need to find their way back. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you've got to find the heart of what the hell y'all were, because you're not.
North Carolina.
And I realized Caleb Wilson just committed there. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, one player can't do it.
Mm-mm.
Not in today's game. And a freshman is not going to do it. And I'll throw this out, and then we'll leave it at this. Do you guys realize that Auburn's average age on the entire team is 23.4 years old? The number one team in the country.
Yep.
Their average age is 23.4 years old. Do you guys know what Oklahoma City's average age is? Oklahoma City Thunder, the NBA team, 24.1. That's their average age. Auburn nearly matches the average age on the team of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
It's all about the portal and getting.
So if you guys think that one or two freshmen is going to come in and win you a bunch of ball games, I know Duke is doing it. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, You have to have an absolute generational player like Cooper Flag.
Well, and two, to add to this comment, the way freshmen just come in and dominate college ball, like Calipari did with Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox and all those guys, the days of dominating with freshmen are pretty much over with.
When you have to do it with 17 and 18-year-olds now and play against 24, 23, 24, 25-year-olds, it's tough, man. These guys have been playing ball for 5 years.
Yep.
College ball.
Yeah. Seems like Janiah Broom's been in there for 20 years, seems like.
He has. I'm telling you, I saw it today. Auburn's average age is 23.4 years old.
Yep.
People think that these 17 sometimes, like Cooper Flag was when the year started. He's 18 now, but he was 17 when the year started. People think that these guys are going to come in and do it, and they're just not. And listen, I'm not knocking Cooper Flag because Cooper Flag is a generational player, okay? And every once in a while, you're going to find one of those. They're not even in every class, but you might find one of those in every third class or something like that. But you're not going to find a Cooper Flag in every class.
Well, and you're not going to find an Anthony Davis either. Like,
no.
It's, you know, so.
You're not.
But the days of, like I said, the days of dominating with a bunch of freshmen are over with. You got the portal now. You got NIL. You got older kids playing. 18, 19-year-old kids. Now, can they make a difference on the team? Yes. They can do some really great things, but you got to have some experience when you go into the tournament. And you got to have guys that have played before and been there. And I think that's what you're seeing as the college basketball level and playing field is continuing on and on and on. You don't see a bunch of these freshmen like you did back in the early 2000s, you know, even with Derrick Rose and all those guys that was at Memphis or the trying to think like AD.
I mean, years ago you had the Fab Five at Michigan.
Well, and you had Juwan Howard and Chris Webber and Jimmy King and Ray Jackson and all those guys. Like,
and we lost John, but it's all right. We're going to wrap this up. But honestly, you really are not going to be able to do this, and I think that's part of the reason why the Blue Bloods are having issues. I was talking about the Blue Bloods a while ago. I think the Blue Bloods have been so used to trying to capitalize on the top freshmen. They've been so used to fighting out and landing the top 2, 3, 4, 5 freshmen and focused on getting these classes. And the freshmen just aren't doing it anymore in college basketball.
Nope. Fun show, Brad.
Get older.
Fun show tonight.
Yep, it was, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. We went long, but
there's a big fun day of basketball. So
we will see you guys. We'll see for a big Hoops Cast show on Monday night.
Have a good one.